Welcome, beautiful people, to season 3, episode 7 of Jahmi Roc's Jottings, this seriously silly space for intentional musicology, sonic joy, and the kind of reggae and broader musical insight that'll keep your mind rocking and your thoughts swaying. I'm your host, Jahmi Roc, Kingston-born LA-based freedom singer. And today we're diving into a series of songs that challenge and or perpetuate sexual assault. Welcome back, Nikkita Nuclear Blackness McPherson. Thank you so much for joining us. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay. Thank you for having me again.
For sure. I have to say a big up to Nikkita because she thought of this topic along with a few others. So you'll be seeing her back more this season for us to get through all those great topics. And today, everyone, we are dealing with a serious matter, very serious matter. April is Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month. And in honor of that, we will be going through 6 different songs that we feel addresses it. For those of you who are catching us on the Kingston 12 Hi-Fi live stream, you saw or heard two of the songs that we're talking about tonight. The first was Stand Against Rape by various artists, and the second was Daddy by Queen Ifrica. So, keep listening, and soon you'll hear us talk a bit more about those two as well as 4 other songs. We try to go through a range of ideas and think through nuance, think through direct calls to action, and think through nuanced discussions as well. So we're gonna jump right into it. First off, I want to kick it to Nikkita to give us a couple of definitions that are useful for us as we talk about this topic.
So first, we in thinking about sexual assault, according to the Office on Violence Against Women, the term sexual assault means any non-consensual sexual act pres- pro- proscribed by federal, tribal, or state law, including when the victim lacks capacity to consent. State laws vary in the definitions used for sexual assault. Sexual misconduct is terminology typically related to institutions of higher education. One definition is that sexual misconduct is a broad term encompassing any unwelcome behavior of a sexual nature that is committed against without consent or by force, intimidation, coercion, or manipulation. Sexual misconduct can be committed by a person of any gender, and it can occur between people of the same or different gender. And we just wanted to also offer a resource if anything's coming up for you and or you need support, please text HOPE to 64673. That's HOPE to 64673. That is a resource through the reign of our organization.
Excellent. Thank you so much for kicking us off with those. And I just want to welcome all of those who are listening live right now. Feel free to send in any messages if you'd like to be a part of this conversation. I'll be checking the chat as much as I can this during this stream, if I can figure it out fast enough. And I would love to hear from you and to incorporate your thoughts, see if you have heard any of the songs that we're discussing, um, and all of that. So let's start off with the first song. A lot of different artists are on this song. You have legends like Marcia Griffiths. You have some of the newer generations like Queen Ifrica and D Major, and then the very, very new ones like Sugar. You have those who had crossover success like Tessa and Chin and her winning The Voice. But there are a number of folks on this track. And one of the things that I really enjoy about this song, this community coming together, is because it feels like an army of folks ready, right? An army of folks ready to chant down the evils of incest and rape, the issues of violence, violence against the elderly, violence against children, and the it just makes me feel like there's a lot of solidarity going on in the community. There's this sense of unity that goes forth, and the orchestration, right? It is a reggae tune, but it has this kind of gospel orchestration to it. And there's also the sense in the vocal arrangements. You have like multiple part harmonies. You have those virtuoso melismas and runs, especially by the women singers. And the layering, it feels very call and response in some parts, with the chorus, call upon Jehovah. Perilous times ahead. Chant so hard the evil would disappear. Call upon Jehovah. Deal in a reverence and fair. Save us, Lord. We surely need you near. And there's these parts, especially at the end, where the lead singer is singing those parts, embellishing them in various ways. And you hear the background of the hook repeating itself. It feels very gospel. This is very gospel reggae to me, in my opinion. How about you, Nikita? What are some of your initial thoughts about this one?
So I definitely listened a lot to the lyrics. I appreciated the different cadences that they use. I don't know the musical terminology, but
Right.
between singing and rapping, what I understand as rapping,
You can also call it Sing Jane,
sing Jane,
DJing, MCing.
emceeing, thank you. That was going on. And also, I agree completely with the solidarity, especially with men coming together with women, particularly Black men and women coming together to speak against something that is negatively impacting children, elderly, and women. So for sure, I agree with that. And a line that stands out to me a lot is, "No longer shall the children of light sit back in silence."
That's right.
Um, and so that sentence or that line really stuck out to me, because we talk about wanting to protect the future. The children are the future, and right now we're not protecting them. We're not protecting their light. And so being a voice for children and or amplifying their voices is make that's what it makes this song makes me think of, is being the adults in the room.
Right. Exactly when other adults are being perpetrators and monsters,
Yes. Yep.
right? I would like to even just hone in on the intro, right? This beautiful intro where it's so layered, like multiple voices are there. The first thing we hear without any background is what someone singing something's gone really wrong, and
Yeah.
then the beat drops in, sees ya now, what's going on, what's going on, Jamaica Wagwan, we need to wake up from that samba, yeah, right? And it's this call beckoning, like, hello, wake up, wake up, wake up, and that's what it gives to me, right? This idea that you have to stop sleeping on the violence, right? You have to come into an a level of awareness, a level of recognition, right? Because these things that happen, these instances of sexual assault are often done in darkness, and it's almost a kind of embodiment or enactment of that idea of what goes on in the dark will be brought to light.
Yeah.
Hmm. Um, yeah, and so when we start with that first verse there, when I check the paper, can't believe this is Jamaica. Old woman them a kill and baby them a rape ya. Big man, for you have the art in our soul. How you for set up my 8-year-old. Buju will say, yeah, we have to confess. Um, and the idea that the people that they are assaulting are as young as babies who cannot speak for themselves is so heartbreaking, right? And I think about a story that I think it was actually Kamala Harris shared about um being a lawyer and representing these victims who were so young that they couldn't really testify against the people that assaulted them, and knowing that so many of those rapists, those molesters, those pedophiles would go free because there wasn't enough tangible evidence in order to convict them, even though they had done these atrocities to these children. So that's something that um comes to my mind when I read this part of the lyrics, right? This idea that we have to sing and chant and speak for the young ones who don't have the communication to articulate what's going on.
Right. Absolutely.
Let's see. Are there any other things that jump out to you about this tune, Nikita?
Um, it made me, I know we're talking about reggae music and dancehall music. It just made me think a lot about, is there, and I'm sure there's many songs out there, but is there any hip hop songs, rap songs that and R&B songs that address something in this way? I haven't seen it. And so I just we look about with Taliwa,
Yeah.
we this is a global issue. I think that's what comes to mind. And like even the line where it says the government how you sit on and make the country get so loose. And so that made me also think about the roles of government around the world and their reactions to the abuse of children.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Just give me one second. Gotta get my light together. Okay, yes. So we have uh a a a, a great addition from DJ Papaloto. Tupac did Brenda Had a Baby, dealing with unwanted teenage pregnancy, Tupac's first hit. That's true. That's a good example of a hip hop song that talked about these types of issues and went as far as thinking through like to when the victim uh becomes pregnant, right? So I think that's a really great example
Thank you for that.
for sure, for sure. And um we see where it's a structural violence going on. We can talk more about this other piece when we get to Queen Ifrica's daddy, but in this song one of the MCs talks about police shoot innocents out of street. We need the crime and the violence to cease. That shows that this problem of sexual violence is also linked to um um, it's also linked, right, to wider violence in the community, police brutality, crime in general, right? And so this structure of violence is what we're coming against. And I think one of the things that we have to understand about rape culture is the interlocking nature of
Yep,
oppressions and the
for sure.
intersecting nature of oppressions that are at work in it, right? So
Right.
as DJ Papaloto adds too, if we think about Brenda Had a Baby, this was a man speaking on behalf of young black girls, right? Um and this goes back into thinking about the community coming together in stand against rape, both men and women, speaking against the atrocities that come against the most vulnerable and marginalized parts of society. And it is cyclical and it is systemic, the kinds of violence that they're seeing, right? Um,
For sure. And what comes to mind is that, th- um, the way in which patriarchy works to uphold and maintain, and even capitalism works to uphold and maintain these structures of violence. Um, because human trafficking hasn't ended,
That
for
part.
example. So we uh yeah, the coming together in this song is what really stands out to me, that various artists came together on a track,
Mm-hmm.
speaking on behalf of children, which I have rarely seen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's keep it moving, why don't we, right? In speaking about children, we have a tune by a child artist, which I know this song. It's a classic, right? It's current 90s dance hall type of feel. Got that hip hop collaboration in there, as we know. Dance hall and hip hop grew up together in many ways when DJ Kool Herc brought sound system culture to New York and inspired the beginning of hip hop, right? We have the kind of in- like the overlapping of that kind of Jamaican sound and then the US Black American sound, as well as um the inspiration of Latinx communities in New York also, right? It's coming together to bring this sound out. So this is a very like dance hall, but also very hip hop kind of track, the way that Dougie Fresh does the beatboxing in it. It's called Vicious, Little Vicious, yes. Freaks, right? And it was released September 26, 1995 on the album Play. And Little Vicious. Oh boy, this one's gonna be a hard one for me because this song, right, is such a classic. This song is such a classic. And then when you really sit and you start to peel back the layers and the nuance and the problematic nature of it, you're like, well, dang, what was I over here dancing to? And I was
Isn't that
like,
our childhood?
yes. It was like, yeah, I was like, it was you putting it on the list that made me realize it. I didn't before today, I did not know. And I would say big up to DJ Papaloto, who also mentions same with Murder She Wrote. Um and then we have I Wayne song, which was a contender to be on this show, right? Um Sex price getting higher. Desire. More she desire. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it was on our list. So definitely we have all of um these songs, right? So Vicious. Let's get into it. What are your thoughts on this one?
It made me think of, the adultification and over-sexualization of Black children, especially Black boys. Black boys often don't get to be children a lot of times. Black boys, well, Black boys and girls, but specifically we're talking about Vicious, who's a Black boy. So he was, they say, between 12 and 14 when this track came out. So either preteen or teenager, and he's a child, And so when I see the lyric where he is talking about when he sees a freak, it hurts it hurt my belly. Cause my love see when the gal them look good. And it's like, you should be playing a sport. Like what's she talking about? And as we go down to the later verse, I think verse 3, he just this is he describes when he bumps into Anika and he goes into the details. And I'm like wondering, like, how old is this little girl? He specifically says, um, little gal. So I'm hoping, he was meaning uh, a girl his age, right? And so, but then even talking about her body and the sexualization of her body in that way, of saying her punani big like the Pacific. And so it's like, how many other people have you been with as a young little boy that you know what different vaginas look like,
Mm-hmm.
And even how he describes his genitalia in the song. It just, knowing that he was such a young kid saying these lyrics is that nuance of, or I don't know if it's nuance or at all, but during that time in the 90s, there was a certain culture of young artists singing certain songs, right? I'm not saying that it's unique to reggae songs. I just want to
Right.
make that clear.
Mm-hmm.
However, in our culture, especially with the remnants of white supremacy, um, and the ways in which capitalism sells sex, um, yeah, I just, that little boy had no business being on the track.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And for me, it also brings up the problem, right, of how a lot of young Black boys are sexualized at like 8 years old, 9 years old, whether by babysitters who are supposed to take care of them or, whoever that may be, right? And they actually don't even perceive it as an assault on them because um they are socialized to think that this is what being a man is and this is okay. Even Kev on stage talks about how he was young and hooking up with like someone who was like 20, 21, and he's thinking, oh yeah, he's making it with all these women and that's so great. And he didn't realize until he was a grown man, like, oh no, they were taking advantage of me and that was a problem. So it's really unnerving, right? To hear it and to see how, as I think as you were saying, like people didn't even bat an eye, right? Like I mean, I had never seen the video, right? So I never saw how young he was. I just always saw like, oh, okay, this is just an MC. Like it didn't come to my brain that he was so young singing this song. Um, and it's like also this idea of like horse shaming comes so early. Like this idea that you gonna be a little child talking about how you have sex with this one and that one, but when you turn into the woman who's the freak, who is sexually engaged with a lot of people, they're a freak and you don't want them, then make your belly hurt. And it's that double standard is starting so early. The double standard is starting so early in terms of like men are expected to be very sexual with several partners, and women, if they're not chaste, if they are not um, selective with their partners, their whores, their sluts, etc. And it's like the wild how early that kind of idea sets in.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when you were talking, I immediately started thinking about the books that getting banned, that a lot of these right wing neo Nazi groups are pushing, where the books are teaching kids in kid language about their bodies and giving them appropriate language about their bodies. And studies have shown that if you teach good sexual education to young children, developmentally appropriate, of course, the chances that they have to experience or will experience, or they can speak on if they do experience some type of violent act, they can speak to it because they have the language. But
Right.
like books are getting banned that can teach young kids, young people about what they are going through physically as they grow up, you know? And a lot of times we shame, and because of religion, different religions, there's shame that's taught around one's body, especially as a little kid when you don't know why your body's reacting the way it is, especially if someone hasn't told you. And that's where predators get to prey on you and do their monstrous activity.
Right. And one thing I would want to kind of also echo, as you were saying before, this idea of having appropriate language. I remember hearing a story about a teacher who her student kept saying, "Oh, my uncle licked my cookie, my uncle licked my cookie." And then she didn't put two and two together that when she was talking about her cookie, she meant her vagina because
Right.
they had used that kind of language um to mask like the actual appropriate language for genitalia, right? And that's why even in my raising of my daughter, we use the actual word name of body parts because if someone touches your vagina, right, we need to know who, when, where, how, so that we can do something about it immediately, right? So I do still use terms like private parts, for instance, just so that it can be a category of areas so that we
Yeah.
can understand, multiple areas. So I do use language like that, but I don't use it as a euphemism in a way that then we don't talk about anything. Again, and even in this one, right, we're seeing where they're talking, they're using uh language like punani and small pee-pee meat, right? These are slang terms, right? For these, and I wonder what that says about like the actual um anatomical terms, like why the slang terms are reached for in these cases and not the actual terms. You know what I mean? So that's just a thought that's coming to me. But I don't know. I wonder I wonder um too about this idea of like the unwanted pregnancies. So DJ Papaloto brought up Brenda um has a baby, right? Then we have uh in verse 5, Lukovicius is saying, go sex a man and get baby. I'm in a response for you. The jacket not fit me. So the child that you had, um, that might be the child of somebody else that you're trying to put on me, the jacket not fit me. It's like that comes up again, the idea of unwanted pregnancy and unsure paternity comes up, right? Um, and one thought that I have too, which is related to this, is how babies that come out of these experiences, they might also often be shunned, right? Might have a strained relationship with their parent, in this case, their mother, um, because they got pregnant out of a vile act, right? So it sets up a whole series of traumas that the people are going through. And what we can talk about in the next song as we transition to it is this idea of a generational curse, right? Um, and how that pans out, or how you might think about that, or you might frame it as that, right? Did you have any more thoughts on this one before we shift to Daddy?
We got to protect all the children.
That's right. Every one of them. Protect all the babies. So, Queen Ifrica, Daddy. So this song um caused a lot of polarization Um, this song caused a lot of polarization, right? And later on, Queen Ifrica came out and explained not only did she have an experience with her father where her father tried to penetrate her, but also her stepfather, from what I understand, was um her stepfather, from what I understand, was also molesting her when she was younger. So I don't remember the timeline of when her father did this to her. Um, but it caused a huge stir. She was on social media live talking about it, and some people screen captured it and shared it on YouTube and things like that. But Queen Africa literally said, like, now you know what the song Daddy Don't Touch Me Dear, what inspired it and what it was about, right? And I think the fallout that she had because of this um goes again to why we have to protect boys and girls, right? Because when they speak up, people do not believe them, right? What do you think, Nikita?
This song was hard to listen to. Not because it's a bad song, that is done very well, and the storytelling is very vivid and intentional. The music video is very intentional. Um, and when I think about something my mom always says, where it's like, children didn't ask to be here. Children don't ask to come here to Earth. And yet we have kids come, and young kids can't even be safe. A young girl can't even be safe in her own house with her own
Mm-hmm.
father.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me think about the conversations that keep happening and these gender wars. And I'm like, we really gotta, like, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna just say it, the men really gotta step up. Like, there's a femicide happening, children are being hurt by majority. Most of the time, it's men. That's not excusing the women who also hurt people and hurt children. But at the end of the day, the men are they need to undo this patriarchy and destroy it. And, you know, in her song, um, um, she doesn't she she I really appreciate that she doesn't hold back in describing exactly what happened to her. And thank you for that background that you gave, because hearing that it was polarizing is not surprising, but it's very, very disgusting.
Right,
Because at the end of the day, a child was hurt.
right,
And people want us to handle things privately. And that's why we still have young girls being groomed by grown men,
right,
starting as young as starting in the even in the church, the grooming that
right,
happens in the church, the
right,
grooming that happens in on teams, the grooming that happens in schools. And so when men believe that women only exist to procreate and to give babies, and women are just objects, then even young girls are seen as just toys and playthings and not human.
right.
Children are seen as playthings and not human. And so this song really stirred up for me the ways in which sexism, like we were talking about earlier, the interlocking systems of oppression that exist to create a environment like this one where children can be raped,
Mm-hmm.
and people take that lightly
Mm-hmm.
or want to hide from it, like in terms of this polarization. So I had to do a lot of deep breathing and make sure I didn't get too activated when listening to this song in particular because it made me think of the fact that the world don't have to be this way.
Right.
And people, you know, people there are people with different opinions on how to stop it. And at the end of the day, the best way to stop rape is not to rape and to
Exactly.
make sure that there are consequences that are meaningful. And as somebody who is a growing abolitionist, I also believe that I believe what I believe is what I'm gonna leave it at that.
Right. Um, there are a few things that you said that I want to comment on. The idea of grooming in the church is huge, gigantic, right? So Queen Ifrica in this song said, be careful even if the man a pastor," right?
Mm,
Um, Let me see if I can find that part. For all your mothers out there with the listening ear, for some reason, I'm not seeing it in my lyrics that I put together, but it's definitely in the song. Um, yeah, it's definitely in the song.
I think we might have accidentally deleted it
Yeah,
off our documents.
we did accidentally, but it's okay. But basically, she says, be careful even if the man of pasta, uh, don't trust him with your daughter. He will even take your son as brata, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we see where same-sex molestation is one of the only ways that same-sex sexual intercourse is discussed in dance hall and reggae. Like I I'm not aware of at least any popular reggae love songs for same-sex couples, right?
Right.
So there's this way that homosexuality is conflated with pedophilia. That's
Yeah.
also part of these interlocking oppressions, this cis patriarchy that works in tandem together. If consent is not understood properly, then you will have, again, these amplifying problems of rape, of incest, of um, sexual violence, right? And I think that um, it was very appropriate for Queen Ifrica to call out the fact that this male pastor would also violate the son, right? Because sometimes
Yeah.
these types of same-sex sexual violence aren't discussed because they're felt to be even more taboo. So I feel like it was appropriate for her to call it out, but I also think we'll see in other songs that we talk about tonight where homosexuality is conflated with pedophilia, this idea that all of it is nastiness, even when it's consensual adult sex. And that holds us back from getting to a liberated rape-free culture, right? Because rape culture is also heterosexist in certain ways, and it's
Yeah.
understood um in various different ways. Like even if we think about this idea of a Sodom and Gomorrah, in my opinion, that story is about rape. The men come from the village, they surround the house, say, "Give us the men so that we might have sex with them." That's not a date. That's not homosexuality. That's not courting someone of your same gender. That is rape.
Yeah.
Understand? And this idea that they would offer up the women instead to be raped is part of the problem. It
Yeah.
is not better for a man to rape a woman. That's insane, right?
Yeah.
And if we do not combat against this cis heteropatriarchy and the heterosexism of rape culture, we are back at the same place. And one of the things I can't take is this conflation, right? Because the LGBTQ people that I know are the most anti-rape people that I know. I'm not saying every single LGBTQ person is like that, but so many of them chant down racism and sexism and rape culture. They chant down all of those things, right? And I feel like we could get farther in chanting down rape and rape culture if we band together and understand what consent is. So at this time, I would like to transition a little bit to talk more about consent. I'll kick that to you, Nikkita, and then we'll jump into three songs that are have a different kind of uh theme, a different kind of positionality, if you will. Um, and mm, they don't necessarily perpetuate our challenge in the same way that these first three songs did, right? Um, and before we jump into consent, I do want to highlight something that DJ Papaloto has popped into the chat. Ancient cultures in Central Europe, Asia, i.e., the Greeks, Romans, etc., didn't see heterosexuality and homosexuality as opposites because of the hierarchy of patriarchy. Patriarchy is about satisfying the needs of the man at the top of power, exactly. So, patriarchy is about elevating some men over all women and other men, right?
Yeah.
The layers of patriarchy there. Wait, so let me kick it to you to talk a little bit about consent, Nikita.
So the definition of consent that we would like to offer is freely given agreement to have sexual intercourse or sexual contact as indicated by words or overt actions by a person legally and functionally competent. In other words, an enthusiastic yes.
Right, right. Absolutely. Um, and I want to just continue to highlight what DJ Papaloto is bringing into the chat, right? So just continuing on her point about the ancient cultures in Central Europe and Asia that didn't see heterosexuality and homosexuality as opposites because of the hierarchy of patriarchy, right? And what she says is that patriarchy, again, is about satisfying the needs of the man at the top of power. So the man at the top of power could have sex with younger boys, women, slave men, adult men only. Um, but it wasn't about equal loving relationship with the same sex or the opposite, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that, DJ Papa.
Yep.
Right? We see where um consent, right, is something that like I don't know about you, but I as someone who worked for UCLA as a teacher, right? We had to do sexual assault prevention workshops, and so they would go through various scenarios, right, about what is consent. And I remember having to tell somebody like, you asking me to have sex over and over again, and me continuously saying no, that's also a problem.
Yes.
That's not allowing me to give consent. Like that pressure, that's pressure. That's like,
That's coercion.
right, that is coercion, as you said. So,
Mm-hmm.
wow.
Yeah. I think it goes what you're saying made me think about bodily autonomy, right? Because ultimately consent is about honoring that another human has bodily autonomy over themselves.
Yeah,
But as we've been discussing, that's not necessarily the case all the time. However, um, when you have the government taking away rights, for instance, Roe v. Wade and the right to choose and things like that. That
mhm,
also that to me is about bodily autonomy as well when you think
right.
about consent, which is why these songs, these next few songs, um, I think allow us to speak a little more to that.
That's right. And so we have first up in this second half, um, King of Dancehall, one of the kings, I'll say. Vibes Cartel featuring Queen of Dancehall, one of the queens. Spice, Romp in the Shop. right? And when
Yeah.
the song comes on, that rhythm is so iconic. And I just remember all the other songs that are on that rhythm. Low key, I want to look up real quick what rhythm it's on. Rough and Shop, what rhythm
I
it,
forgot the name.
yeah.
Wasn't it Independent or
Yeah,
something?
Miss Independent
It's
Rhythm.
Independent, yeah.
I was singing Miss Independent with it. Uh I was singing over it, you know what I mean? And then um I was singing the Neil song, right?
Yeah.
That's right, DJ Papa Loco, sing along, sing along. She's got her own thing. Um, so that's so interesting to me. But one of the things about this song here, so doggone catchy, so iconic, right? Um, they start off with every man grab a gal and every um gal grab a man, so we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, man to man, gal to gal, that's wrong. So again, this conflict, and I'm just like, leave queer people alone. We did not do anything to y'all. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting. That is one of the things that comes up at the beginning of this. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like, why are you thinking about queer people when you're about to be in the romping shop? Like, what you doing? If you're not queer, why are you thinking about them? You know? But anyway. Um, so I'm not gonna read all the lyrics, but anyone who has listened to the song or knows the song, there's this back and forth between Vibes Cartel and Spice, which I always like. I like a good back and forth.
mhm.
And the back and forth is oh, I don't know that. Sorry. The back and forth, I just saw a mess. Um the back and forth is
So give context to those who aren't watching live, DJ Papaloto has put in the chat, isn't Spice rumored to be queer? And I was unaware of that.
unaware. But they're having this conversation about what they want from each other, right? They want, you have to ram it hard, the cocky no lie, damage it to spite. I'm telling you what I need from you, right? At the same time, why are we using such aggressive language? You know,
Hold on. We are using aggressive language. This is true, but I see something in the chat that must be addressed at now. I didn't know Spice performed in Canada for LGBT festival. Good for her.
good for
Uh,
her.
yeah, so I feel like this must have grown since Romping Shop because in Romping Shop she said scorn them.
Yep.
Yeah,
um,
yeah, in Rampant Shop, she says condom after the man to mile, girl to girl. That's wrong. But yes, there's a lot of aggressive language. Um, and amen, DJ Papaloto, colonization was definitely sexually violent, right? And
for
that's
sure.
where all of this is coming from, right? Um, so I think she said something like stab up me something to my belly hurts or something,
Yep.
something like that. Um, and this act of penetration as violence, right? And I think also one of the things that came up for me when I was talking with a family member before is that she was talking about like how um during slavery they would take like a prominent enslaved person who was like a king of his people back in his area of Africa, and they would molest him in front of everybody, right? Um, and that idea of um of humiliation was part of the colonizing. right?
Yes.
Colonizing the mind, right? And here we have DJ Papaloto just also tying in with the history. Spaniards tied indigenous men and women together, couples especially, and took turns raping the men and women for humiliation.
Yeah.
So this continuation of rape culture is a continuation of colonization, right? And so where we have um these stories and legacies of sexual assault, sexual violence, and colonization, then meets up with 21st century discussions about sex. And yes, this is consensual sex, right? In romping shop, right?
Right.
They love each other, but it still has this like aggressiveness. And I was wondering with this, like, how do we how do we make sense of it? Because on the one hand, I would say something like, there are people who like enjoy aggressive sex, that's something that they really like and um they give consent to have aggressive sex. And so, am I yucking their yum, right?
Yeah.
By talking about this song in the way that I'm talking about it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I wonder about that. And I do think there is a place where like if it is consensual and you have limits and you have rules and you have guidelines about what you want from your partner, you know what I mean? You can go there if there's consent. But I do still think that there is this lingering problem when it comes to like sex itself is seen and described as so violent, but I also think there's something about our language that does this because when you tell somebody, hey, go kill it, you mean go do a great job, but you
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
just said murder, right? And so
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. And I agree with that, but also it's when he's talking about get your heart attack. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? And I know there's people who have their different ways, like you're saying, I don't want to yuck people's yum. At the same time, I think it's important to call attention to how we talk about when we're intimate with another human,
yeah,
given the culture we live in.
that's right. That's right. And to shine a light on what DJ Papaloto has contributed, um, she says violent sex fetishes, fantasies, I believe, are extensions of the violence of colonization. She said in Mexican soap operas, the men say that they have to conquer that woman. Yep, that's definitely um a kind of language that is seen um in this idea of like sexual conquest, even um we have this class called the Beatles, right? Where we talk about the song Norwegian Wood and we ask the question, hey, what's this song about? Because the lyrics are kind of ambiguous. And among the answers, it's the idea of like a sexual conquest, a sexual affair, like XYZ. And even our language, you know, reflects back on this idea that colonial violence and this violence of sex are intertwined.
Yeah.
hmm We have in this song ideas like, well, yeah, I feel ram it hard, right? Oh my gosh.
Me will quint it up 2 times and pop your cock. Come on now. You going
Deal with your breast like McCrushing Irish. Oh my Heavenly Father. Right. That's right, DJ Papaloto, adding in that it's like when men say they're gonna beat it up. And you have that one song, who is it by? I'll beat the boot up.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
They say a different word, but I remixed it.
Yep.
Um, What? Say more, DJ Papaloto. You said, and what the H is pan maca, M-A-C-A. What's that?
Oh,
Some old school dance hall lyrics. Um, Maca is yes, maca is a kind of stingy bush. It's like it hits up on your clothes. It's like spiky maca. Yeah, let me see if I can find it in here. Maca. Mm-hmm. Indeed. Yeah, but maca is a kind of spiky bush. Which song is that from? DJ Pablo, do you remember? Go behind the maca bush. Okay. So you never understood why the songs say to go behind the maca bush. Okay. Interesting. I I'm not remembering ones that say that, but I imagine there's some idea of like there being like a border between you and um other people. Like, so if y'all go have sex behind the maca bush, the persons who could find you would have to go through the spiky bush. You know, that's what is coming to my mind. Or so around it or next to it. Interesting. Okay, that's interesting.
do we have time for one more song or?
Oh yeah, we doing too.
Okay.
They'll be all right. Sometimes podcasts go a little long, my friend. Okay. Sometimes, so we got two more songs for you. Maybe we could do them together for the sake of time. We have Buju Banton Butterflies, which is a new song. Didn't even know it. The way that he sings it just seems just like a timeless old school song that came back. I don't know if he used to, as you said, Nikkita, I don't know if he had this song before and then he bring it back, or what, but I from what I understand, it was released like a couple weeks ago. Butterflies by Buju Banton and Skip Marley featuring her Slow Down. Two love songs. One a solo by a dancehall sing J and one a duet by a reggae artist and an R&B artist. What are your thoughts, Nikita?
Yeah, these Buju Bantons, butterflies. Um, I thought it was vulnerable for a man, to express his feelings in this way. Um, he does compliment her as a person, but he also, compliments that she's curvaceous, how she looks. Um, he talks about her potential. He talks about wanting to go into battle with her and fight every fight with her together, and that their future looks bright. And it just made me think like, if he was to sing this entire song, I think it's like 2 minutes, the song is.
Mhm.
If I was wondering, I'm like, if somebody sang me a song for 2 minutes on the street, is that still catcalling? You know, and I just was wondering, with this song, I it's under this consent, this idea around consent, because there's nothing wrong with you sharing how you feel about somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and he's at no point demanding anything of her. He's just trying to paint a picture of what the future could be like for them together. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I really like the song.
Yeah, I really like this song too. I like the part where he says like, "I never want to hurt you." I'm a big fan of where he slips in that Mary Poppins superfractionalistic espialidocious. I was like, yes, you better sing Mary Poppins up in here, my dude. Okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, tell me more. I like it. So I love that. I like also where he talks about tell you I'm attracted clearly, it's obvious, uncanny sense of humor, but never ridiculous. Give me that love with a sense of purpose, just
Mhm.
that that's beautiful. I don't know. I'm a big fan of this song. Like I want to listen to it more and more, right? Um,
And it's an invitation, right? It's not a demand. It didn't
right,
feel demanding, I should say.
right. Right. And I just like this idea of like it's like, well, any of you make a feel butterflies, I'm gonna love you for life. Know that. Um, and it's like it's so in for Buju, right? Like Buju is I don't know, Buju has like this persona of this like he has this aggression, but he has always had this soft spirituality as well, right? And I think that he's an artist, right? Who also I just wish the homophobia wasn't up in there. You know what I mean? I think about how recently his son went viral for saying that he almost turned fish, but then um he remembered his dad's song Boom Bye Bye and come back to himself. Right? And I'm just like, sir.
Mm, yeah.
You know what I mean? I wish, yeah, I wish that this hatred for homosexuals was not seen as Jamaicanness
Yeah.
that it is. But that's another story. So DJ Papaloto is sharing with us that Buju was a girls DJ in the 90s first, and his songs were controversial. Half Get Your Body was protested in the 90s by college students. Wow. I never know that. Love My Browning, Love Black Woman. Mm. Let me see, Buju has this softness, right? That
Yeah, he will perform with Barris Hammond. My mom loved when he performed with Barris Hammond.
yeah, yeah.
That soft side comes out.
Yes, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to, one of my favorite Buju songs is Destiny.
Mm,
I,
mm.
in fact, one of my oh yeah, one of my songs um that my podcast when I first did it that I came on, it was like the Destiny of Liberation, and so I sang some of it in that podcast.
Mm.
Favorites. Okay, so um Have to Get Your Body Even by Gunpoint was the controversial line in that song, says DJ Papaloto. It was considered a rape song by protesters. Oh my heavenly goodness. I did
I
not
did not know that.
know that. I don't
Mm.
think I know that song, Have to Get Your Body.
I never heard that song.
Wow. Not DJ Papaloto saying I don't know.
Wise, you're
You're
wise.
wise. Wow. So, but and that's the thing about dualities and complications and nuances, right? People have layers to them, right? So here's the soft man crooning about, if you anyway give me butterflies, I'm gonna love you for life. But back in that day, he's talking about, I have to have your body even at gunpoint. This is just very rapist language right
Yeah,
as
was
a young man.
socialized,
Yeah, and then you
socialized
turn
and
around and
taboo.
have boom bye bye,
Yeah,
that's gun
yeah.
down homosexuals, which is just like so violent. But these are layers. People have layers. People, as Shrek would say, people are like onions, the type of layers that they have. Um,
And it's also important we recognize how mindset becomes action.
hmm
So just, yeah.
yeah. Um, I see where. DJ Populous has also offered the gun euphemisms of cowboy movies. That makes me think of like Harder They Come is such a cowboy movie.
Yeah.
Such a cowboy movie. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then how about Slow Down? I'm a fan of Slow Down. I think you introduced me to this song. Um, and I'm seeing where DJ Papaloto said that the cowboy movies really affected lyrics in Jamaican movies.
Hmm.
So Skip Marley and her
Yeah.
Slow Down. Tell me your thoughts about this one.
Well, the video, I encourage people to watch the video. Uh, there's this secretive, this desire to be low key in the song. Um, where they say if we play it cool, yeah, we can have that one thing or we can have everything. So not rushing it, not jumping ahead, just chilling, just letting what is meant to happen happen. Um, I what I am a little iffy about, when he's like, girl, slow down, girl, let me love you, darling, slow down. It makes me wonder, like, is it the song and the cadence of the song, and or is it if she didn't slow down the first time, I'm gonna need you to just let it go. So um, but there's just this desire. He's desiring her, he's yearning for her, and she is entertaining it mostly. She says, loving when we sway. I love it when we think the same thing. I love the way we move. And so that's, her is, thinking about the moments that she is enjoying with him um, in this meeting of each other for the first time
Hmm.
or the few times they met.
That's right. Yeah, this is basically to me a pretty sweet song, you know what I'm saying? And if we could have um more sweetness in the world, I feel like we would be in a better place, you know what I'm saying? Like, um, I like that we're ending with these two because it's ending on a note of like love can be soft. Love can like we don't need violence. We can enjoy each other, right? In goodness and wealth, in the place that has longevity, where our hearts are true, you know, where we care for one another, where we love one another. I think that's important, right? And one of the lines that I really like is this is the choice that we take. Again, the choice that we take. Again, consent. Big up consent. Big up all the people who know how consent works. If you do not know, learn today. Understand? Ask permission. Know that consent can be revoked at any time, even if it seems like something's about to go down and the person changed their mind and say, you know what, I can't do this, never mind. They have revoked consent, and that is that. No sexaroo. Okay. So I encourage listeners to take the rest of April. We have a few days left this week and continue to live in the spirit of awareness and prevention, right? Any closing thoughts from you, Nikkita?
Protect all children and protect yourself. And there are healing resources available to all survivors. My heart goes out to you.
That's right. My heart goes out to you as well, my people, my people, my people. Um, we will be having a replay of this episode next Monday, but I believe it will be at a different time. So just stay tuned with Kingston 12 Hi-Fi to get a sense of when that replay will be. Remember that Jahmi Roc's Jottings is available on Spotify, Castbox, Amazon Music, and YouTube. Be sure to tap in, replay those episodes, y'all. Replay them, share them with a friend, okay? Follow the podcast so that you always know when there is a new um show, okay? You know? You know what I'm saying? Big up, and we will see you in 2 weeks. We'll see you over there in May. And so until then, I want you to remember this has been Jahmi Roc's Jottings. Keep your mind rocking and your thoughts swaying. And as always, keep jamming.